This Warmaster battle report features a Skaven army trying out two different builds. First, they will take on the Empire, then the forces of Araby. For the first game, a sparse desert battlefield is set up, featuring woods, buildings, a hill, and some impassable lakes. The Skaven deploy first. Then the Empire army deploys. Let's look at the troops. The Skaven are an infantry horde army whose tactics revolve around outnumbering and swarming the enemy. This army is 2,000 points. It features masses of cheap infantry with a few specialist units in support and a breakpoint of 17. The army is composed of models of Indus snake men from Clan Khali Ma. On the right flank, a snake demon representing the Doom Wheel surrounds itself with infantry. Rat ogres, storm vermin and clan rats dominate the centre, with chaff infantry holding the left. The Empire will be fielding an aggressive tournament list. This army is focused around knights, griffins, and artillery. Crossbowmen and knights deploy on the left flank. Infantry and knights deploy in the centre, while artillery and knights hold the right flank. The main brigade of Skaven begins its advance across the desert terrain. The Doom Wheel brigade surges forward on the right, while the Rat Swarm brigade takes cover behind the woods. A Skaven warlock scuttles forward and blasts an Empire cannon to pieces. In the Empire's turn, knights and infantry surge forward to counter the Skaven threat. Crossbowmen take up position in a wood, whilst more knights move up to secure the right flank. The Empire artillery opens up on the nearest Skaven brigade, slaying many and driving them back in confusion. With no means to counter the Empire cannon, the Skaven are forced to close the distance. However, the cowardly Skaven refuse to listen to their commander's orders and are unwilling to bring more troops into cannon range. Only the rat swarms and their handlers advance into the safety of the woods. Skaven wizards fire spells at the Empire knights this turn and succeed in driving them back. Having ranged in their artillery, the Empire hold their line this turn. Crossbowmen advance slowly through the woods on the left. Cannon once more open fire at the nearest target, and a unit of clan rats are driven from the woods. Empire wizards hurl their spells, causing more confusion in the Skaven lines. The main Skaven line once again fails to heed their commander's orders this turn. However, a detachment of clan rats sneaks out of the woods and begins a flanking maneuver on the left. In shooting, the Skaven's dark magic fails to make an impact. The Empire now form a solid battle line, keeping clear of the cannon, permitting them to shoot. On the right, the knights spot the Skaven threat and begin their wheel to intercept. The cannon once more punish the Skaven lines, driving back a unit of clan rats. Responding at last to the threats of their masters, the Skaven begin to creep forwards in the centre. The flanking clan rats manage a surprise assault on the knights, catching them off guard. In the ensuing combats, the knights are forced back by the weight of Skaven numbers. Many knights are slain, and the Skaven swarm around in pursuit. Empire crossbowmen finally take up firing positions at the edge of the wood. For the most part, the Empire battle line holds firm this turn. A single unit of knights is ordered to counter the threat of the Skaven flanking units, but they cannot quite charge the distance. Artillery fire drives more Skaven units from the safety of the woods. Empire wizards use their magic to send the knights charging home. And with the aid of a Griffin Rider, the Skaven assault is halted and pushed back, but not defeated. The Skaven flank attack renews its assault, whilst damaged units scuttle away to safety. The main Skaven battle line is reformed into a wedge. Suddenly, out of the trees, Skaven gutter runners launch a lightning assault on the Empire crossbows. Skaven artillery moves into firing range and disintegrates an entire stand of flagellants. In combat, the Empire Knights finally manage to see off the Skaven flank attack, whilst brave Empire crossbowmen manage to defeat the Skaven gutter runners and pursue them back through the woods. Realising that the woods are no longer safe, the Empire crossbowmen launch an assault on the Skaven main battle line. More Empire units are ordered forwards into the fray. Knights and a Griffin Rider charge the flank of Storm Vermin and Rat Ogres. Surviving crossbowmen begin to pursue the Skaven out of the woods, whilst Empire wizards use magic to send another unit of knights crashing into the Skaven battle line. The remaining Empire troops move up in support. Ostermark crossbows continue to hunt some rat. Having destroyed a unit of Skaven Jezzails in combat, the victorious Empire crossbows fall back. The charge of the Empire Knights eliminates the Storm Vermin and pushes back the supporting Skaven troops. The Knights continue to ride through the Skaven lines, hoping to punch through to the weaker clan rats behind. Although victorious, the Knights are now bogged down by the Skaven numbers, leaving them vulnerable to counter-charges next turn. The Skaven now launch their counter-strike. Using initiative, clan rat units charge crossbowmen and knights. The Snake Demon leads its brigade of cultists forward, but can't quite reach the Empire Knights. More Skaven units sneak around the right flank to threaten the rear of the crossbows. Hordes of Skaven start to envelop the Empire Knights. The final Gutter Runner units are chased from the woods by the crossbowmen, who then retire to a safe distance. A Across the battlefield, Empire troops suffer heavy casualties from the frenzied Skaven, losing 3 units of crossbowmen and 2 units of knights. With the name of Sigmar upon their lips, the Empire commit all remaining knight units to the charge. Frenzied flagellants hurl themselves at the Skaven, whilst griffins sow terror amongst the enemy lines. With all their force committed, the Empire know they must win this combat to stem the Skaven tide. One Skaven unit falls, then another. Their lines begin to buckle, and finally they turn tail and run. The shifting sands blow over the desert, revealing new terrain. A long-forgotten shrine to the snake god Khali Ma is revealed, and the Skaven are here to claim it. The second Skaven force has replaced its ranged elements with a screaming bell and more heroes to lead the troops. The Skaven deploy a refused flank formation, with their Doomwheel snake god at the front, surrounded by chaff infantry. More units swarm on the flanks. The incursion of Skaven is met by the brave sons of Araby. Their army features multiple types of cavalry, elephants, magic carpets, and a djinn. In contrast to the Skaven, the Araby army deploys in a long battle line, with mobile elements on the wings, and infantry and elephants in the centre. The Araby sorcerers prepare their mirage units to confound the Skaven troops. The Skaven advance begins slowly, their troops tentatively creeping forwards behind the available terrain. The Arabian Sultan orders a general advance. Cavalry units moving ahead of the waiting infantry. The Arabian sorcerers summon their mirages, trying to tempt Skaven units from the safety of their lines. The screaming bell tolls, and the Skaven army continues its relentless advance. Skaven sorcerers hurl lightning at the Araby elephants, but fail to hurt the thick-skinned beasts. The Arabian Sultan now begins to execute his strategy. Cavalry and elephants begin a wide flanking maneuver on the Arabian left. The Araby army is now setting up a battle line at 90 degrees to the Skaven force. The mirages on the right will slow down the supporting Skaven brigades, effectively splitting their army in two. The Arabian infantry will then form up behind the elephants and cavalry, while the stronger Arabian units can pick apart the Skaven force piecemeal. Arabian archery draws first blood on a unit of giant rats. Sensing a trap, the Skaven general orders his army to redress their lines. On the Skaven right and on the Skaven left, giant rats charge into the mirage, causing it to vanish into the heat haze. Skaven magic once again targets the elephants, this time driving them backwards. More Skaven start to sneak through the woods. Having removed the mirage, a single unit of giant rats is now left as bait. Maintaining the plan, the Arabians begin to swing their battle line around to their left. A single unit of spearmen charges forward to clear away the rat swarm. Camel archers advance on the Skaven flank and begin peppering them with volleys of fire. Magic carpets land behind the Skaven lines and begin picking off units of clan rats. Having eliminated the giant rats, the spearmen then fall back toward the safety of the elephants. The Skaven now spring a trap of their own, flinging 3 units of clan rats forward to assault the Arabian cavalry. More clan rats are flung forwards to assault the camel archers, while Skaven magic transforms a clan rat unit into a frenzied killing machine. Skaven units turn on the magic carpets and bring them down in a flurry of fangs and claws. Clan rats manage to assault a brigade of Arabian infantry, but the men fight back fiercely, holding their ground and driving the Skaven back. In the centre, the frenzied clan rats make short work of the Arabian light cavalry, who are cut down to a man. The rabid rat men then advance into the flank of a unit of elephants and further units of knights. Shocked by the sudden assault, the elephants and knights take heavy casualties. Although the knights manage to find their courage and drive the Skaven backwards. On the Skaven right, the clan rats manage to drag down a stand of camel riders, but are wiped out in the process. Arab cavalry units now respond with a swift countercharge. Knights charge the flank of the storm vermin, accompanied by the terrifying djinn. Surviving Arabian archers move out of danger, whilst the remaining elephant unit shuffles backwards out of range of the Skaven. In combat, the frenzied clan rats are finally put down, having removed over half of the Arabian strike force. Camel riders avenge their friends by slaughtering an entire brigade of clan rats. The knights and the djinn find the storm vermin are a surprisingly tough nut to crack. And although victorious, the knights are now locked in combat and surrounded by enemies. The Skaven now begin to consolidate their early lead by advancing upon the Araby lines. Clan rats swarm around the beleaguered knights, hoping to drag them down through sheer weight of numbers. However, inspired by the terrifying djinn, the knights see off the Skaven and survive. The Arab infantry reserve now launches their attack, catching the clan rats in the rear. The remaining stand of knights bravely charges the screaming bell and brings it crashing down. Camel riders continue to harass the Skaven right, while the Arab infantry cut down their Skaven foes. Gutter runners emerge from the woods, shooting at the beleaguered knights, but they cannot bring them down. Sensing that the Arab strength is now almost spent, the Skaven Greyseer orders a final assault. Led by the Doomwheel, rat ogres and other infantry bring down the wounded knights and elephant units before pursuing onwards into fresh foes. The Doomwheel smashes into the flank of magic carpets, and the Skaven are poised to take victory next turn. Knowing that the loss of a single stand will cost them the game, the Arabs start to move their wounded units out of harm's way. In a desperate bid to save the magic carpets, a brave band of spearmen assaults the Doom Wheel in the rear. The enraged elephants now turn upon their aggressors, crushing them underfoot and driving them back. Against all odds, the Doom Wheel fails to destroy the magic carpets and is then brought crashing down by the combined efforts of the spearmen and the Jinn. With the loss of their snake god, the Skaven's nerve fails and they flee the battlefield. These surviving Arab commanders rally their troops and then begin the long task of reburying the evil shrine beneath the sand.
मुक्ति देगी काली माँ, काली माँ, काली माँ, काली माँ शक्ति दे. Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?